Happy Tuesday morning, everybody. So we got to digest all of the reaction pieces yesterday in response to the deal that 8 Senate Democrats made with Republicans to end the government shutdown. And there are some rational, logic-based responses and reactions to that. There are a lot of emotional responses to that. I listened to Tim Miller and Will Salatin at the Bulwark yesterday making the argument that Democrats actually won the shutdown fight. And they had reasons for that. And you can contrast that with pieces from Jonathan Chait, Andrew Egger, arguing the Democrats lost this round. And one thing that has jumped out at me in most of these pieces is that, well, at least Democrats get to hang this stuff around the necks of Republicans heading into the 2026 midterms.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll come back to that in a second. But it's interesting to me that, the people who absolutely do not believe that they lost this shutdown battle are Republicans in the House, Republicans in the Senate, and Donald Trump. They're sitting back laughing at Democrats. And I think in this environment, that can't be discounted. That can't be discounted. Because Donald Trump used the intentional starvation of poor Americans as leverage. He has no threshold of pain for when that becomes too uncomfortable for him, because he doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself. And he knows in reality that he's never going to be on another ballot ever again. But, coming back to my point about, well, at least we'll get to use this in the midterms. People are acting like the midterms are actually going to be the midterms. They're acting like the midterm elections are going to have any semblance of normalcy to them in how those elections are conducted, how those ballots are counted. Republicans, Donald Trump, members of his administration, Republicans in the House and the Senate are going to spend the next year passing legislation and engaging in all forms of executive orders in a campaign of voter suppression for the midterms. They want to get rid of mail-in ballots. They want to get rid of voting machines. They want to get rid of extended periods of time for voting. They want voting in person on one day, election day. And if you can't make it, you don't vote. They want to make it easier to throw out people's ballots that have already been cast. They want to make it harder for people to vote, period. Even though there have been multiple studies that have shown that if we had basically universal voting on election day in 2024, Donald Trump would have won by a wider margin than he already did. But people are acting like the midterms are going to be the midterms. And they're just not. These midterm elections are going to be anything but free and fair elections. And Republicans are going to spend the next year doing absolutely everything they can to make sure that that's the case. Which brings me around to the pardons that Donald Trump issued on Sunday night. He pardoned 70 or 75 people who had helped him try to steal, try to overturn the 2020 election. He pardoned all of his attorneys, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, little Kenny Chesbro, Jenna what's-her-name, the one who caught COVID from one of Rudy Giuliani's fart clouds. He pardoned all of those people. Now, why did he do that? There was no threat that any of those people were going to be federally prosecuted for the things that they did in 2020. Pam Bondi's not going to go after them and get indictments. Hell, she was on Fox News pushing 2020 election conspiracy theories as much as the rest of them. Donald Trump pardoned those people as a signal. It's a preemptive signal to the people that he's going to ask to help him steal the 2026 midterms. That if they do it, he will pardon them. That was the point of those pardons that he issued Sunday night. Donald Trump is transactional. And we all saw that when January 6th didn't work, Donald Trump was still in office for 2 weeks. He didn't pardon any of the people he pardoned Sunday night during that 2-week period of time. He didn't pardon any of the insurrectionists at the Capitol during that 2-week period of time because they had all failed. They were unsuccessful in their end of the transaction. And so why would he reward failure with a pardon? Well, on his first day in his second term, he pardoned all the insurrectionists. That was a signal. That was a signal to the Proud Boys. It was a signal to the Oath Keepers. It was a signal to ICE agents. And now he has pardoned his White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, all of his attorneys, and everybody else who worked inside his administration to help him overturn the 2020 election. Those are signals that the people who help him in his quest to steal the 2026 election midterms, that they will get pardons. So it's like, the midterms are not going to be the midterms, man. They're going to be unlike any other midterm elections this country has ever seen, in a bad way. Anyway, but you know, in the meantime, over the next year, how many millions of Americans are going to lose their health insurance coverage? The body count from that's not going to be zero. And that's the point of the last 40 days. And using SNAP benefits and things like that, Republicans don't give a shit about causing the deaths of Americans. They don't care. They don't care.